We're not there.
That was part of the issue I'm sensing.
What have you done? This is Jeff and Mr. Ribbitson's podcast now.
I guess so. I don't know why it's not working. That's so weird.
Why are we ghosts?
I'm just making Jeff disappear in and out again. What is with that? Well, I don't know why it's
What
not
have you done?
working. I don't know why it's not working. I can try and troubleshoot it, but at the same time, it's like I'll just. You can just you know.
I don't know, actually.
Well, here, entertain the people for a second and tell us about your weekly obsessions while I get a placeholder.
Well, first off, D&D update. So we went off. So we just where we left off, we had just defeated a bunch of rats, basically,
Sure.
and rat people, and we were told to go towards this place called Solder Bridge. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Solder something. I'm gonna say it's Solder Bridge.
Solder something,
And
please.
which is a hideout for a gang called the Welded Vultures. And while we're on our way, so we do like these little skill challenges where we come up with some sort of scenario that we run into on our way there, and then the DM chooses basically a skill for us to roll for. Oh, hey, I'm here. I'm standing on the table.
I'm trying to fix you.
And
It's not gonna be animated this time.
And so Yoshi's character, I can't remember what Yoshi's character does actually. She does something. But I decide, I'm like looking at like my stats and everything, and I'm like, what stats can I use? And I notice I have a +5 in religion. And so I'm like, can I go ahead? Can I go up to a group of people that are in our way and just start saying, like, trying to like Jehovah's Witness them?
Okay, it's a choice.
I roll a nat 20, so I roll a 25 on this skill check, and I convert like 5 people to the Church of the Silver Flame. It's great. And we have a little interlude in between us getting to where we're trying to go to, and we hear this small group talking about like this access fob, and like, oh, we gotta go. And this entire time we've been down in the cogs where we are, we've been hearing about something called the manifold, and we have no fucking clue what this manifold is.
Labia.
But everyone wants it, basically. And so we hear this group talking about it, about a fob that specifically like goes to this manifold. And we approach, and the original idea is that I, as my priestly self, is going to distract them while our fighter sneaks around to try and steal this fob off of them. We find out very quickly, one, they are not entertaining the idea of being ministered to at all, but then also there's no way for the fighter to sneak around. There's not enough space. And so it ends up just becoming a thing where it's like the people there who we learn are Lane, Flane, and Blaine. That they realize that we're pretty heavily armed and everything, and they're like, you help us with this in case a fight breaks out, and we'll split whatever we find. And we're like, you know what, sure, why not? And I'm keeping up my act this whole time. So like every time Lane, who's the leader of their little group, like curses, he just says, sorry, father. I'm just like, you're forgiven. And it's very entertaining the entire time. But we go in and we get through what is originally like this door. So it's like this this very old like vault almost of something called the Euben Garden. I can't remember what it's called. And it's this really old. We're not like responding to each other. We're just kind of there. You realize that, right?
I know.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you
These
knew.
are just the PNGs.
Oh, okay. And so we go in and everything. It's this old, like, it's old ruins of like elves and dwarves like together. I don't really totally remember the lore specific about it. But we go in and there's this riddle that appears, and we obviously do not have the answer to this riddle. And so this suit of armor starts attacking us, and then these animated bookshelves also start attacking us. And thanks, SK, I drew it myself with a mouse. And so we defeat that, and funnily enough, this Lane guy is actually a cleric, so he's actually affiliated with the church. It's very, I'm like, oh, that's why he's not susceptible to my preaching. But none of us die, luckily, and we're all fine. And so he gives us the fob, and we also got a magical sword out of it. And we're like, well, I guess we can come back here if we ever figure out the answer to this riddle. And then we go about our way. And we end up in Sodder's Bridge, and as we're approaching it, there's this big explosion, and we go into this building that's practically on fire, and there's just a bunch of dead people.
Sure.
We help one guy who isn't quite dead yet, and we go down and down to the basement of this building, and there's this big dungeon area, and there's just this really, really scared prisoner in a cell, and who's just like saying, yeah, she went to Depot A, and yada yada yada. And at this foundry, and we're like, okay, and we let the prisoner go. He runs out, and we got some extra health potions out of it. We see this there's more dead guys in another room, and we follow this secret passage out to that eventually leads us to Depot A. And we meet the Warforged we're looking for, Mountains. And she's very happy and go lucky, and she has a southern accent, and it's like, oh, okay. And we put together, oh, you're the reason that building blew up, aren't you? And she's just very proud of this fact. Because she's one of the original Warforged that fought in the war. So she's been at war for 30 plus years until recently. And she has basically find out she's the reason this entire idea of a manifold has been spreading out. There's no clue if this is actually real, but it sounds really nice. And she's basically lured in these 3 groups of gangs that have been
Don't laugh.
and we've been so she's baited these 3 gangs into this one area, and has set up this gigantic trap for them, which is basically a huge fucking bomb that goes off and kills at least a couple hundred people all at once. And we're just watching this happen, and we're like, what the fuck did we just see? This was so unnecessary and everything like that. And after the explosion too, she's just completely changed, and we're like, okay, what the fuck? I guess we're going back to beachfront, and we'll continue with our main quest. And we're shooketh. And that's where we left off. So
Well,
that's
no
the
one
D&D recap.
died.
No one died. Well, and actually, no, a lot of people did die.
No, I meant of the party.
No one of the party died. I did get hit for a good chunk of damage, but I luckily had a health potion that got me back up.
Well,
But
that's good though.
oh, there was also another little interlude where I got to pet a baby dragon. So that was nice.
Did someone roleplay as the dragon?
No. Well, I mean, technically the DM did, I guess.
Wow.
But I got to pet it. But as far as actual weekly obsession goes,
Obsession.
I don't know. I guess kind of Pokemon. The latter end has been a good portion of Pokemon. I've kind of been jumping through a bunch of different things that I've been focusing on. One thing that has stayed consistent, though, I'll consider this my weekly obsession, however lame it is.
Oh
Have you heard
God.
the McDonald's and the Pentagon song?
Pentagon?
McDonald's and the Pentagon song.
In the Pentagon?
Yes.
No.
Hold on. Because this, unironically, has been taking up a good portion of my mind space. I'm grabbing it. It is stupidly catchy. This is the only version I can find on YouTube, so you have to deal with
10
it.
hours?
You obviously do not have to listen to the 10 hours. That will drive you clinically insane. But yeah, this has been in my head.
Okay.
And I love it. I love it dearly. It's very catchy. It's very funny.
Okay.
I vibe with it. I vibe with it heavy.
Why is there like a... Is that a duck? What is that?
I don't know. That's whoever made the song.
Whoever made the song.
Yes.
Is it about the McDonald's in the Pentagon?
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
So yeah, that'll be my weekly obsession.
What an interesting weekly obsession. Okay, well... I would say... Okay, so for weekly obsession at least, I would definitely have to say House of Leaves, just because of how much I read of that book this week.
That's fair.
Against my will, it feels like, honestly, with some of the things that I've read from that book. But I don't know, I think I started either close to or around like page maybe like 120-ish, and now I'm in the 300 plus range. So I've done a decent chunk. It's only like 700 pages.
I was about to say, how big is the book? Okay.
And some of the pages are like as crazy as the ones that you've seen of like all of the weird bits, and some of them are like literally 3 words. So
yeah,
it varies.
What I know of that book, yeah.
Also, it very much depends on the subject matter, because some of the parts of it where it's like, oh, that is crazy, I also am like, there's no point in me reading that because it doesn't even make sense. So I'm okay with that. But something that ended up happening with it, funnily enough, is so I already told you kind of how it started to turn into very complicated story-wise, of where it's technically like 3 stories all in one, navigating the same technical story. Basically, I have realized now that there is a very specific divide that I'm going to have to deal with, where it's trying to be similar to like a lot of the academic papers and such. Well, I say academic in quotation marks. All the kinds of like really trying to sound smart papers that I was forced to listen to / read in high school. That I'm getting flashbacks to because of all of this happening and all the footnotes and everything and references. That plus, when it's not that, it's talking about all of the stuff that I've sent screenshots about, of like being like talking about girls and all of the sex that's happening with them. And then the other part is like how this guy is going clinically insane and he thinks something is coming after him in the darkness, to where he thinks he's getting like hit by cars and shitting his pants, and then he's like, but that's not what's happening right now. I'm just sitting on the toilet right now. And like, it's so annoying because he's going on these tirades where I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then he's like, but that's not actually what's happening. I'm blowing out of proportion. And then we just return to what the house story is about, and I'm like, this is completely different. So that's been fun.
He said, I'm the unreliable narrator, and you have to deal with it.
And it's been both entertaining and extremely annoying, because I am desperately trying to figure out where is the story gonna go. I mean, obviously there's hints to it being like very similar to how they found the original person that was writing this entire story about the house thing where he went crazy and then died, and no one knows how he died because, you know, mysterious circumstances. But
Oh.
because of that, it also makes me think that there's not really gonna be a very concrete ending for like what the hell happened with the house, because at this point it's getting very philosophical in a way of like, what do you think the house represents and all that stuff, because all of the fake references and footnotes to different works that are talking about this house documentary that doesn't actually exist, both in the book and outside of the book, are all pointing, like looking at it from different perspectives, like of therapy, interpersonal relationships, physics, like all this kind of stuff. So it's making you question, like, what does the house actually represent? And I think what's annoying is I have a feeling that it's gonna not resolve in anything, and it's literally going to just be a, well, this is what might have happened. You get to deal with that information now, and that's gonna annoy me.
Oh boy.
But other than that, song update, not as many, only 14, and 7 of which are part of an album that came out. But guess what? It's the Rebecca Black album.
Yeah.
That I have
Finally.
been waiting for. It came out this past Thursday, and it's 7 tracks, only one of which, technically 2, but mainly one of which I had actually listened to a bunch before. And I will say, it's a banger. All of them, the whole thing, it's a boppy banger. She's banging on her bops. Boop, you know? And I'll say, probably the whole thing, the actual album title is called Salvation, and I would say both that, the title track song called Salvation, and one called Do You Even Think About Me are my top picks, because they're very dancey, and they're not as experimental repetitive as you hated from the Charlie XCX album, but they are dancey. They're a work your pussy out babe kind of dance track. And then
That checks out for you.
outside of the Salvation album, I would say my main song recommendation would be this one called Fruit Machine.
Okay.
I don't know what Fruit Machine stands for. I'm hoping it doesn't stand for what I think it stands for, but it's by this like duo called Piri and Tommy, Piri and Tommy, and it's just a cute little song, a little ditty that like has to do with putting coins in a fruit machine. Like I have a feeling the fruit machine might be talking about the cooch. Solely because they're talking about putting a coin in it, and I'm thinking, what looks like a coin slot? But I don't know. I there's no lyrics associated with it. Well, there are lyrics, but I can't find any like written down, so it's just going based off of what I think I'm hearing.
And you don't know what you're hearing.
Not necessarily, not fully I almost said in context.
In context.
But then the one song that I had to recommend you is this one called Welcome to Heaven by Pleasantries. Solely because I think, comparative to the last thing I recommended, it definitely sounds more... Oh, never mind. Oh, never mind. It is definitely your kind of song. If this is what I'm thinking.
What?
Because when I look that up, I immediately see something from the Has Been Hotel, and I didn't associate it with that. But no.
You say that as if I haven't watched Has Been Hotel.
You might not have watched it, but it definitely seems up your alley.
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
something that you would watch. But this is
I've listened to a little bit of the songs,
I'm talking about, just because it sounds not fully like Lemon Demon-esque or anything, but in the same range, I would say. Which is the only main reason I was like, yeah, I could see this. So that you can gauge for yourself. But yeah, I think that was the main stuff that happened this week. And technically there's other things that have happened, but we'll see how that goes depending on how fast you are. Oh right, I need to set up this shit. Hold on.
How fast I am?
Yeah, with your explanations.
Oh boy.
Because I now have to figure out something else. So give me a second. Entertain them again.
Oh god.
You're good at this. Come on.
I don't fucking know. I don't have a story to tell or anything like that.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Well, Pokemon Day was on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Talk about my thoughts on that.
Okay. Go for it.
We're getting a proper like showdown-esque game with champions. That'll be fun. That'll be cool.
What do you
Looking
mean
forward.
showdown-esque?
So you know Pokemon Showdown?
Maybe remind me. I don't
It's like
remember.
it's the online battle simulator for Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
We're getting what looks like to be something similar to that in an official format with Pokemon Champions.
I promise this is for a reason, okay? Just don't pay attention to what's happening to us over here.
So that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be cool for that's gonna be cool for actual competitive battling. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun time.
It's fine. It's fine.
Jeff's also gone.
Yeah, I know. Things had to happen. Okay.
And then we saw actual trailers for Pokemon ZA, Legend ZA, which is exciting.
I didn't
Very
see any
mixed
of those.
bag. Well, we sent you them.
No, I know. I still haven't watched them.
Well, that's on you. And there's a mixed bag about whether or not people are excited or not. We also got to see the starters.
Oh yeah, what was with that? I don't understand why the starters are like 2 of one region and then 1 of definitely not.
No one knows. No one knows at all. There have been a lot of jokes where it's like, oh, the Typhlosion controversies. This is what happens as a result of the Typhlosion controversies. Or because Cyndaquil was in Legends Arceus. How, okay, we're all gonna go to Kalos, and then Cyndaquil got isekai'd into Hisui instead.
Sure.
But yeah, we have Totodile, Chikorita, and Tepig for some fucking reason.
Tepig?
Tepig, Tepig, whatever.
I thought it was Tepig, like tepid.
I think it is Tepig, to be fair. But I you know me, I say things weird sometimes.
Wrong. You say things wrong.
No, there's no Cyndaquil in this game. Be disappointed, Shinny. You don't get a Cyndaquil. You already got a Cyndaquil.
Okay, I think I've done it.
Have you?
Okay, here we are.
Yes, this is
Okay.
so we're healing. Don't mind us.
Where am I starting?
I guess it depends on if you want to read the poem I wrote like
You wrote a
years ago
poem?
regarding this was years ago. I wrote a poem based on all of this.
Okay, okay, sure, go for it. Let's start. Why is it so long? Oh god.
Because it's long.
And
This
this
was
is a screenshot that you didn't even fully crop
because
properly.
Because listen, I forgot I wrote this, and then I remembered I wrote this literally like 5 minutes before stream started.
Okay.
So I added it. And it didn't copy paste well from Tumblr because it's where it was
You
posted.
wrote it on Tumblr?
I posted it on Tumblr.
Wow, it's definitely the time.
Because what? Hello?
What? Don't mind what I'm doing over here. Stay in your own ice block, damn.
But it was in response to a poetry prompt from a Minecraft YouTuber named Joe Hills who does these sometimes.
Okay.
And the prompt was create your own sanctuary.
But make a poem?
So this is what that was the prompt for the poem.
Okay.
And so This was the poem that I wrote in regards to my entire deal. Um, I know that some people would take refuge somewhere far away from their troubles and let down their hair. Some people would love to bury their feet in the sand and watch the horizon, watching water washing where they stand. But my place is different than some people might think, a place for safety and comfort, even though sometimes I'll sink. My own thoughts are heavy, flooding in waves, just like those beaches, like them they can stave. My mind, my home, isn't always that peaceful, but I don't think I'd like that. I don't like feeling wistful. For something more than what I have, so I make my own, a place that I form, even though I might be alone. But I don't feel lonely, for I still have people made in my mind, no matter how feeble. Not all are nice, often they argue, sometimes for me, sometimes for their own value. They talk about freedom, about hope, about love. They talk about many things as I watch from above. I don't interact, I just leave them to it. I just like to watch them, see what crimes they might commit. Some against each other, some against themselves. None of them are perfect, that's why I enjoy their tales. They all have their stories, some woven through time, others are short, but worth every dime. My place of comfort may cause some distress, but I think it's worth it for its purpose transgress. Past simple needs like silence or peace, my place makes me think, and I am quite pleased with how far I've come with just a little help from the people in my mind whom I've never held. I wish I could express how much they've done for me and how much I hope I have plenty more to see. For my place, my refuge, isn't quiet or comfortable, but it's still my place and it remains indomitable.
I think there's some oatmeal in this.
What?
Never mind. Anyways.
What fucking oatmeal are you talking about?
So.
Then me.
Do you want to expand on the poem or move to the character section?
I mean, I think it speaks for itself.
At this point, you clearly had more of a grasp on like what they were to you.
Yes.
And this was how long ago was this that you wrote this?
It
It was on Tumblr.
It was on Tumblr.
So that automatically dates it a bit.
When was this posted?
Well, here I was thinking you'd have all the research done.
It doesn't. July 7th, 2020. So this is 5 years old.
Not as old as
a little less than 5 years old. I think I can't remember if this was before or after I started doing part work in therapy.
I mean, did you already have like an idea of that before you even started doing that in therapy?
I've had these characters, these parts of me have been here since I was little, as you will soon see.
Oh boy, are there pictures?
There are. I went on Pic Crew. If I didn't have like an official like picture of them, I went on Pic Crew and I made pictures.
I meant pictures of you.
Oh no. I don't have that. Okay. So first is gonna be this blue square up here.
Resume. Welcome to the blue square.
First off, here's me. Because I am a part of all of this. In one way or another.
Did you know?
Believe it or not, I am the body. As you can see, that's my job. My job is to be the body.
My job is to body these hoes.
I don't have a main color, although I did put blue as kind of my main color. This blue, even though it's, yeah. So, because my color changes a bunch. And my fandom is Pokemon, because I'll get into this more about what that means necessarily. Because I relate a lot of my life to different fandoms I've been a part of. And so when I think of Pokemon, I don't think of a specific character, I think of me. And then my song.
This is gonna become Sarah explaining her Luniverse. I can already tell because of all the extra details with it.
It kind of is. And then my song, I have a lot of playlists that are associated to like each of that are associated to each of these characters specifically. But the main song, like they each have at least one song that I specifically relate to them more than anything. And so for mine, it's Trouble by Avicii. And so the 3 pictures down here, by the way, are like older pic crews that I made, because this one on top is more what I look like currently, I'd argue.
You
So
should draw yourself the same way you drew Sarah.
I'd rather not.
So befitting. Thank you. Thank you.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Okay. Moving on.
So we're not going to go to the pink square yet. We are
Okay.
going directly to the
Moving
purple
on.
square. You'll see. I'll explain why in a second. So
Oh god. No. Let it be known that my reaction is to the artwork, not to this character.
I missed it completely because I accidentally like yanked my headphones out. So I did not
Okay.
hear
Well, maybe that's
anything.
good. Oh,
So yeah, the first character, the first part is Sarah Nova. As you can see, there's a second part over here that says Renaissance. We'll get to that.
oh god.
Her main colors obviously blue and purple. We have the older version, and then we have the more current, more recent version, both which drawn by Quiz.
I don't claim that anymore.
Still drew them. Her fandom is One Piece, as it was one of the first main fandoms I actually got into. And her job is kind of the leader, the main editor is what I call them. I used to call them my editors, because everything was based around writing and storytelling. And so that's their entire thing. And her song is Well Better Than the Alternative by Will Wood.
Hey, look, it's Will Wood.
Yes, Will Wood. Like I said, I was into him before you ever mentioned him to me.
Not surprising.
Obviously, originated as my Minecraft character. Went through a couple of iterations. She started out as the ninja that we see in this first picture up here.
If you can call it that.
And then she became purple for a little bit. She had purple hair and her purple outfit and all that stuff, very purple. And then she got the blue hair and went back to this outfit in the second picture. She's the head editor and makes any final decisions based in storytelling. So she is kind of, or at least was, the main character in a way of most of this quote-unquote story. It's very hard to explain this because there is the actual real life factor, and then there's the entire like story factor that plays into all of this.
It's like House of Leaves.
Yeah. So yeah, she's kind of the main character in all of this.
Do we go green or purple?
And then green. So
Death.
this is who I refer to as DR more often than not. His name is technically Dimension Ruler. His main color is green. I don't have a picture of him because it's really hard to make any of that. And for a long time, he was quite literally just a hooded figure in my mind. He had no face or anything. He was just a black hood with no face. So his main color is green for reasons you'll see in a second. He decided to latch on to the My Hero Academia fandom. I did not choose that for him. He chose that for himself. His job is to create settings. So, and you'll see that in a second because we'll go to the left. But he basically made what everything looks like. It's not multiple personalities. I'm not diagnosed, okay? Could it be? Maybe. It's never been presented to me as an option. And his song is Architect by Livingston. And so his entire thing is that he was originally created purely as an antagonist for a roleplay book on Wattpad.
That's not surprising.
And so, yes, SK, I heard this song. SK introduced me to Livingston. And I heard Architect, and then immediately, no, this character isn't new. This character is very old. The song, I have many songs that relate to all these characters, but it's now a case of what song do I specifically connect to this character as of right now the most. And right now, Architect is the one that connects to this song, to this character the most. This is not a new character. This is just a new song that connects to him. Like I said, originated as a roleplay character on Wattpad. That's why his name was Dimension Ruler in DR, because that was his entire thing. Is that he made he made antagonists basically that were basically just reversed versions of any of the characters that were being played as in the roleplay book. So that was his entire deal. And then he kind of grew to become the second editor, and he became just purely the person who created all of the settings for stories and all of that stuff. He and Sara do not get along very well. They just, the thing with DR specifically is that you're gonna have to deal with, there's a lot of therapy talk in this, and there's a lot of heavy shit. Because this story has been written throughout my entire life. DR became a catalyst for a lot of mental issues that I've had, specifically my depression. And it's very apparent once we get into more of his story, if we get to more of his story. So he kind of just, he tried to have creative liberty. Sara shot him down a lot, and he stopped having that creative liberty until later on. But if we go to the left right here,
oh god, it's a long one.
We have the mindscape. This term is specifically taken from, it might be in other places, but I specifically took it from Gravity Falls, because when they go into the mindscape of Stanford and all of that stuff, it's specifically, you see that their mind is created and designed around their life. And so it's often, in therapy at least, from my experience, it's been a case of close your eyes, where do you see yourself? And more often than not, I see myself in like a forest clearing with a pond nearby. So most of my mindscape is made up of mostly just forest, flat forest, not very hillies, not a lot of hills, not a lot of not a lot of hillies, not a lot of hills or mountains or anything like that. There's small clearings, there's a bunch of like little ponds or anything like that. So when I imagine myself or even my characters, it's usually within one of these clearings. But there is also the main architecture is DR's castle, which is a very large black castle. It's very dark. It's meant to be kind of this bigger and imposing building. And it was his main testament to his own creativity, and that was like his main kind of, this is what I'm building, this is the main place I want to build for myself. And it stood up, and then Sara started saying, you're gonna only make what I tell you to make, and he didn't make much else after. And so everyone lived in this giant castle before the Renaissance, and the Renaissance began to, right before it began to crumble, as DR's entire story kind of started falling apart as well. And so now it's just a really big ruin. So no one actually lives in it anymore.
Well, besides spiders.
No, there are no spiders in my mindscape.
They're where you don't look.
We don't talk about it. But we go down now.
Oh god, this is very bright.
And we get to Glitch. Glitch is main color is red and orange. Undertale fandom. Their job is to create characters, and their song is Language of the Lost by Rip Producer. So their glitch design, this design right here, was actually created after their main character was created, because the entire idea was that they were the first surprise editor, is what I call them. And it says here, like, as their story unfolded, I realized they had been around for a lot longer than I realized they had been. And because you'll see in the Renaissance form is their more true form, but for a lot of the time before I realized that they were even there, they took on this form of glitch. And then more often than not, they were taking on this form of just other characters in my mind and my stories and all of that stuff. And their entire job was just to create a bunch of characters. Like, I don't know if you remember when we were doing like a bunch of those like little role plays we would do together with like all of the like the bite bandit person and all that stuff, or
Yes.
the Kimberly Main or stuff like
Yes.
that. That this is who was in charge of making those characters, frankly.
I mean,
And it
all
was
the times that we were like, what the fuck do I call
what's
this character?
yes.
Great.
So like any design and stuff, like this was Glitch's job. And similar to DR, they do not get along with Sarah, because it's very much a they were never given a lot of creative liberty themselves. It was kind of a case of Sarah told them what to do and they were expected to do it. And it got to a breaking point eventually, which we will get to in the Renaissance.
In the Renaissance.
In the Renaissance. That's kind of the only way I can describe it at the moment. So if we go back down here to the yellow,
That's yellow. It looks
we
creme.
have creme, whatever. It's a pale yellow because I don't like a very bright yellow. We have manipulator is kind of her name. But I call her Mani more often than not. Her colors are black and yellow. Her fandom is Teen Titans. Her job is conflict, and her song is Confident by Demi Lovato. So she was the second surprise editor. She was quite literally it she's the one character or editor that I have that was quite literally a case of, yeah, I've been here, bitch, kind of a deal. Where it was because I remember it very vividly. It was one night after it was on a school night. I was in, I think it was middle school specifically, and
Or
there
times
was an
for us all.
entire there was an entire ordeal happening within my friend group at the moment, where there was this one guy who was who kept saying that he had been hurting himself. And I remember doubting it. I remember being like, things don't line up in this scenario, in this story that is being told. And it came out that night that, yeah, he had been lying and stuff like that. And I think I had been the one to start telling, like, I don't think this is true. I think there's pieces missing here. And people had believed me and called him out on it, and that's what caused the truth to come out. And that made I remember there being a thought in my mind. It's like, oh, if I say stuff like this, people are gonna listen to me. So I could fully control fully control the narrative. And I remember thinking that's not a good thought. And that's when she popped up. That's when Mani popped up, and that's why her name is Manipulator. And so she was very much like, yeah, I've been telling you this. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is up here? And so she, surprise, surprise, also does not get along with Sarah. None of them get along with Sarah, if you haven't noticed. She was not technically ever in charge of anything because she was never an official editor. She was someone who constantly wanted to be an editor. She was someone who constantly wanted to be a part of this main group, but was never allowed to. And so instead, she focused on trying to tear down the order that had been created by Sarah, specifically by targeting Glitch and DR. And in ways that we'll see in their story a little bit later. And I'll explain. Actually, I can explain it now. Because I didn't totally write this part out simply because I didn't know if we would get time to it, but I'll do a quick rundown. Basically, the way that Mani did it was to get into Glitch and DR's head and convince Glitch specifically, hi Faye, to basically go be their own person, go try and become one of these characters, and sent them off to basically go join the specific Undertale story. And it took Glitch out from the entire um, the editor group really kind of annoyed Sarah because now one of the editors wasn't there. Now that means more work for her, all that fun stuff. And it really messed up DR. It made it a lot easier to manipulate DR to try and turn against Sarah. And it eventually became a thing where when Glitch came back because of external circumstances, um, when Glitch decided, yeah, fuck this, and kind of self-imploded, it really fucked up DR and made him kind of go on to his own thing and fully turn against Sarah, which led into the Renaissance. But all of that eventually leads into that's also to say Manipulator had her own story with the Teen Titans, and within the Teen Titans story, that Sarah was also not happy about, and she was doing it specifically to annoy Sarah. And all that goes into Skylar, or Sky, as I call them specifically. This picture right here was me actually drawing them for Art Fight last year.
Exactly. See, you should do
Uh,
that with all of them.
well, you'll see in a second. Their colors: pale blue / teal and green. Their fandom is Minecraft. Their job is self-care, and you'll see that all of them kind of their jobs have changed. And their song is "Turning Out" Part 2 by AJR. So Sky was created during my early to mid high school career. What I was, well, that's what people call it. During my early to mid high school years, when I was specifically like, Sarah doesn't fit me anymore. I want something new. Or specifically, Sarah was too feminine for me. Is where this was going. I was feeling very uncomfortable in my gender. I was trying to explore some things, and so I specifically made Sky. The entire idea of Sky was, well, Sarah was someone who I always wanted to be, and who I always kind of expected myself to become. Sky was a more realistic version of what I could become and what I wanted to become. And that was kind of, I think, one of the first steps that led me towards, without even realizing it, I was very much vilifying Sarah without noticing. And so this is a step towards de-vilifying her in her own way. So Sky specifically was made as I was joining, as I was re-entering the Minecraft fandom, specifically Hermitcraft. And so that's when I made my specific Hermitcraft Tumblr, and I ended up making the Hermitcraft Cards Against Humanity server, which let me meet a whole bunch of people that I'm now still really good friends with, and even the creation of our little survival server that we made for a little bit, where Sky was the main person on there. And even now on Discord, I'm still technically Sky in a way, because that's how my username is. And I have actually looked to see if I could change my username to like my actual Discord ID to Sarasona. Someone already has Sarasona.
That's not surprising.
It's very annoying, especially because it seems like a completely blank account too. So like it's not even actually being used, which is very, very annoying. So in the end, Sky didn't stick. Sky was never, well, I really do love the character and the design and all of that stuff. Sky never stuck as a character, or as a persona, I guess, in this case. And so they took on more of a backseat role where they just kind of provided more of a supportive thing, and they eventually specifically led to the Renaissance, because Sky, the peak of Sky was when I was really getting in a lot of therapy. And I've talked about this. I went to a mental hospital for like half a year, and this is when I got a lot of help. It's when I got a lot of help, and it's where I learned a lot of stuff and how to take care of myself a lot better. And it made me realize, it made me really kind of reconnect with all of these characters and just kind of more understand them and realize that, oh, I've been really forcing certain things onto these characters. And so their stories began to shift a little bit. And one of the main things I realized is that all of them have their own designs that they wanted to pursue and all of their own characters and their own stories. So, during the Renaissance, everyone went through a fairly big redesign. So if you come back up to the second purple square.
Do you not like where it is right now?
What do you mean? Oh God.
I gotta go all the way up. Okay. So this is what it was. And then move over to here.
So this is the current versions of Sara, where she's specifically not as sexualized
I see fish
in my
nuts.
mind or anything. Yeah, but that does not necessarily mean sexualized.
I mean, she's trying to catch fish. And you know what that means.
Do I?
You should.
She takes on a new role of productivity, where initially when I was creating the entire roles for Sara, DR, and Glitch, it was a case of Sara was more of the emotional side, while DR and Glitch were more of the logical side. Yeah, that was fucking wrong, apparently. Sara is not very emotional. Sara is very no nonsense, very much like we're gonna solve. Sara is a lot of the autism, frankly.
Wow.
Sara is very much a, what are you doing? This is very clearly the most efficient way of doing it, and is having to learn. Okay, there's other way of doing things. I need to be open to criticism, kind of a deal. So her role is productivity, because she likes to get things done. She likes to make plans. She likes to be like, this is the way we need to do things. And so that's her entire thing now. So now she still has the blue ponytail and all of that, but she specifically wears hoodies more often because she likes to be comfortable, which, fucking fair. So she was actually the last official redesign and the last official character to enter the Renaissance.
That's surprising because I feel like this design has been around for a decent amount of time.
This design has been around for a long time, yes, but it didn't ever get finalized necessarily, or didn't really enter this level until after the others. So if we go down here, actually, if we wanted to go in order, technically Sara's the last one.
Well, we
the
already
first
went
one,
through that.
I know, the first one is the red one, is Glitch. Because like I said, the Renaissance form was already kind of done beforehand. Where she's Ariel Boom. Her entire role is the social aspect. And this is specifically because Undertale, my experience with Undertale and the Undertale fandom, is what got me into Tumblr, and in turn Discord. So the entire aspect that has been me with Ariel has been social. And so that's her domain now, I guess you could call. She fully goes from Glitch to Ariel. She gets very frustrated if you don't communicate. She's not that orange ghost anymore, but is instead actual feminine female. Feminine female.
Feminine female.
Feminine female. A human. And yeah. Her main color is red, like with her hair, but it changes every now and then. And she is still directly connected to that Undertale story. The next redesign is this one down here, where she becomes Hannah Styles, which is a direct The name is a direct homage to her character name in the Teen Titans fanfiction that
Hannah
she.
Montana.
No,
Yeah, I
no.
mean, you got the blonde color of the wig in the background. That's all I'm saying.
What? No,
Yeah, because look,
no.
this is like a blonde hair color.
But that's not her hair color.
Exactly. She puts on a wig.
No, she doesn't. Her the only thing you have close is the fact that the entire idea when I was first writing the story that goes with specifically her before I realized that she had anything to do with the fan fiction, the antagonist name, who she is, was HS. And it was stood for literally hairstylist
Okay. Oh my gosh, wait.
because of reasons.
This is Hannah Montana and Harry Styles' love child.
No!
It all makes sense
Shut
now.
up! Shut up. No. Anyways, her role is confidence. She is she's the person who's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and we're gonna stick to it, and we're gonna say like we're not gonna cower anymore with this. It's like we know, and we're confident in ourselves, all of that stuff. So if I'm ever starting to second guess myself, she's the one who's steps up and is like, no, stop. uh Specifically, the main thing about her redesign is with her initial design, she was very hypersexualized in my mind. And but it's also because she was specifically trying to emulate Sara and trying to copy what Sara was doing. So her entire redesign is specifically stepping away from that and being her own person.
Can I ask
And
something?
yes.
Why didn't you give her eyebrows?
Don't worry about
I just want to know.
Because I probably forgot about it when I drew that picture. I was focusing on other things. She has eyebrows in this one.
Yeah, but this is the one you specifically made, so that makes me think she does like bleached eyebrows or something.
No, she doesn't. I just forgot. I was drawing stuff for some of the first time. This is my first time ever drawing these characters myself. There's gonna be mistakes, okay?
And eyebrows were not high on the priority.
Okay. Next is this one up here. He doesn't have eyebrows either. I just never gave people eyebrows, okay?
Oh my gosh, the hair reminds me of that one dude.
What one, dude?
You know.
I don't, actually. That's why I'm
I
asking.
don't remember the name. It's a Pokemon trainer.
Oh, I do know who you're talking about. I can't remember. Wallace? Is his name Wallace?
Maybe? I think so. But it's like the color almost mixed with the style of Arvin.
I mean, it's not quite, but I think this is who you're talking about here.
No, not at all. But you know, I appreciate it.
Oh, well.
That looks closer to like Harvey vibes. But anyways.
His name is Dim. He went from Dimension Ruler to now he's just Dim.
No longer a doctor.
No, he's not. His new role is Pride, is taking pride. Specifically, his entire thing was supposed to be pride in my appearance, specifically. But it's become more of a case of pride in creation in general because he was the main creative factor. So he's gone back to that. He's the main source of my creativity and all that's fun stuff. He actually has a face now too, which is fantastic. And so he creates what he wants to rather than what people tell him to. And so with all of that, after the Renaissance happened, it also caused up here in the pink box.
Power to the pink. Forgot about the pink.
It caused Sierra to reappear.
Missed.
What? No. Stop.
Sierra Sierra Mist. It's a soda.
I'm aware.
You act like I was just making it up.
I didn't get it for a second.
Oh my gosh.
So Sierra, her main color is pink. Her fandom is Steven Universe. Her job is to have fun, and
Yeah,
song
it
is Everything at
is.
Once by like, oh, don't. She's literally a child. She's quite literally my inner child. Okay,
Sierra Mist.
no, she's the actual, technically the first ever editor. She was the person I always, maybe not the specific version of her, but she was always the self-insert basically whenever I would be daydreaming or coming up with stories or anything like that. So that was her entire thing. And when Sara came around for the first time, she fell dormant. And so the entire Renaissance kind of brought back and unlocked the inner child because of therapy reasons. And so now she's back.
With a vengeance.
And specifically, one of the things that made me realize, and that's why her fandom is Steven Universe, is when the Steven Universe movie came out. There is a character called Spinel, who's the main antagonist, and she has a friend. She has a song. Her introduction song is "Other Friends," and I really like that song. And specifically, all of my main editors and everything were attaching to it, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized that, oh, she's back, I guess. And so yeah. That's one of the things that I think makes me sound extra crazy.
Which
is,
part?
is the fact when I say specifically along the lines of, oh, my characters are the ones attaching, or my characters told me this, or something like that, because it is genuinely what happened. Like the entire thing with Mani specifically, when it was this whole, she literally popped into my head because she quite literally did. And I don't know how else to describe it as.
Alright.
I have never been tested properly for dissociative identity disorder. I would not be surprised if I haven't. But at the same time, I've just been told in therapy that this is a very useful and very healthy therapy tool. So,
Well, I always imagine that also, granted, I don't know the full range / scope of the possibilities of that, but I always imagine that has more to do with, I don't know, direct altering of like your personality swapping / switching with the said units that already exist within your system, versus this feels more like a conglomeration of like multiple things that make up a singular.
yes. That is a lot more similar to what it is. And it used to be a case where I did not consider myself a part of this entire ordeal. And I only started connecting myself to it fully recently. Like within the last 2 years type recently. So the way it genuinely felt like very disconnected, but now it feels a lot more like it's actually a part of me. Which is its own bag of worms in its own sense.
And who's to say?
Who's to say? But yeah, like face it, it's not hurting anybody. I mean, it was actually kind of hurting me for a while. But
Kind of ruining that argument.
considering the entire thing with these two right here was specifically to like destroy me. But that aside, everything's fine.
Uh-huh.
Now, these little things over here are more like kind of for me writing out more of the story a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I didn't get very far simply for the fact that I started feeling I did not feel the best.
And she died.
So I just have little blurbs about the main personas. So like Sierra, first and only character for a very long time until Sara showed up. Never really grew up, perpetually stuck as a child. Went dormant shortly after the creation of Sarah. Only recently came back as a result of the Renaissance, and she's loved by all of the other editors. There's no one who actively dislikes her,
That you know
which I
of.
think is very important. Well, that I know of, but no one's said anything about it yet. So, and then Sarah's blurb is a bit longer because she's definitely the one I've had for the longest, at least active for the longest.
Active duty.
Yes. So she became the main face for myself online, was the only one in charge for everyone. Full name Sarasona came from the first and only One Piece fanfiction I ever wrote. Of which when I posted the first chapter of it, it got a lot of hate and criticism. And I was young and didn't know how to take any of that. And so I just deleted it and I've never written a One Piece fanfiction since. And to this
Until
day.
now.
Nope, I still have it. I still don't plan on doing it, mainly because I don't have any ideas, and I still have a lot of doubt in myself on writing in the One Piece world.
Everybody check under your seats right now. You might get a free copy of Sarah's One Piece fanfic book.
Nope.
It's signed by her. And it
No,
comes
no,
with
no.
the keys to a new car.
New stuff. I know.
And the car is full of bees.
Why is it full of bees?
Is that not fitting for you?
It would be, but I still question it.
They're all
Has a
just-
beehive.
the car is a beehive. It's a mobile
Yes,
beehive.
actually.
Specifically for your bees. And you're like, can you please just drive my bees around?
They need to go out on their walk.
They fly. They don't walk.
They can, technically.
Oh my god, they all have leashes on them.
Individually.
Horrible. Dental
Individually.
floss.
You can't tug too hard or else you cut them in half.
Okay.
But yeah, so I have not and do not have any plans to write any One Piece fanfiction. Partially from that. That's also why I'm such a strong proponent of if you are getting some sort of content for free and the person specifically is like not specifically asking for constructive criticism, don't fucking give criticism because it's not your place. So I'm very strong proponent of that. It became a big source of shame. And so that's one of the reasons Sarah was the way she was for a very long time. Where it's like everything has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, then it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna work. So obviously did not allow for much creative liberty, rejected anything Bonnie ever had to say, basically just kind of shut her out and said, I don't have a place for you, I don't want you here, kind of a deal. The entire idea is she had to control everything to keep her and the editors and in turn me safe. Obviously didn't work out that way. Everything fell apart when Glitch left, specifically when Monty convinced Glitch to leave, and when DR became more self-destructive, when the castle began to fall, and all storytelling was halted. This is when I was in a very big creative rut, when I wasn't doing any sort of creative ordeal other than music at the time, but that was because it was a case of it was a part of school. I was doing music in school. But that was it. That's when Sky showed up. Sarah never liked Sky. She viewed Sky as a replacement and did not like that she was no longer in control of everything because it was fully, literally just Sky came in, took over everything, and now Sarah didn't have as much power. All the other editors started feeling safe enough to confront Sarah about everything. Like, hey, you kind of made our lives living hell, what the fuck? And she felt very overwhelmed, she felt very blamed and all that stuff, very defensive. And it wasn't until Sierra reappeared that Sarah was like, ah, fuck. I fucked up, didn't I? And she was able to actually grow from that. And now she's made a little bit more of a reappearance than she has in the previous years, where she's become more of my online internet face again than she had previously. And it's the same with like her and Sky have kind of switched places again. But it's happening in a lot more of a controlled, a lot more of a sincere way rather than it was before. And this last little part's just about Sky, because specifically created right before the Renaissance happened. I already explained Sarah was what I wanted to be, Sky was more a realistic goal. I thought they were everything Sarah was not. Without realizing that all of that rhetoric I was feeling towards Sarah was just vilifying her more and just making her Sarah. All Sarah wanted to be was trying to do everything that was best for me as a person, and I was just fully being like, "You're just hurting people," and she's like, "I'm just trying to help." I wasn't actually telling her what I needed her to do in order to help, and I think that's why she's come back to the forefront a little bit more, because she has the tools and I'm communicating with her more on that front.
You have a
Um,
walkie-talkie?
and I mean, and I not really. It's more of I just kind of focus a little bit and I can talk to her. Um, and they're always kind of just in the background in my head. Uh, Scott ended up helping bring Glitch back. Specifically as Ariel, convincing DR and Bonnie to kind of become into their own, which just wasn't allowed previously with Sarah. And so that's why they were able to become Hannah and Dim. But in the end, when I started it kind of felt like I graduated from therapy and I graduated from needing Sky as much. So while Sky was still there in the background in case I ever needed them, it was never a case of I need you right now kind of a deal, where it's like I'm gonna fall apart if you're not with me. So they're still there, but they're a lot further in the background. They only pop up when I'm like really falling back into old habits and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my parts.
Don't say it like that.
That's not. I mean, that's called part work.
Yeah, but say it in a different way. Don't say that's my parts. Because that is what gets people demonetized.
Those are my characters that live in my head. That just makes me sound crazy, though.
I'm sorry. The previous wasn't doing anything in that aspect.
Listen.
I mean, like, referencing what you had mentioned before, like, way back when we would do all of that writing stuff together, and we would make all those, like, basically one-offs that never even started most of the time.
Yeah.
Where it was basically just making characters and imagining what it could be like to make a story, and then maybe writing a quote-unquote chapter and then never touching it again. But you know, some of them, I think that was the best move. But
yes, agreed.
but I think with most of those, at least for me, I want to say that they were supposed to be unique, but at the end of the day, I think most of them were probably just a form of self-insert for me.
Oh yeah, that's what Sierra and Sarah were for a very long time. We're just self-inserts.
And then, like, when it came down to the quote-unquote main story we had, I think that was the first time. Originally, I think it was a faux self-insert because it was me making up an identity that I did not identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the furry form, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that entire phase of my life was kind of being motivated from the people I was trying to hang out with. Because there were multiple different people that I was talking to, multiple of which were in the furry area.
Well,
to which I was like, oh, sure, I should go somewhere in that route, even though it was not necessarily me. And then after that, what he ended up becoming, you know, when he got a name besides just Quizzy, that was me kind of solidifying him as his own character that definitely I did not identify with, but I was specifically trying to make it such of like this is a separate kind of incantation, invitation, iteration.
Iteration.
Iteration of a character that ultimately should have been unique from the beginning, and that on top of like Jade or Kenzie or anything were ultimately created in tandem with, but also because of the wanting to make that him more like an individualized person, I guess. And so I never fully made an actual full on self insert until I guess now, in my own way, of like who this little witch boy is now. And it's only a self insert because quite literally it's just meant to be me, but it just happens to have a narrative surrounding it. And the only reason
Like,
it has a narrative is because I don't know how else I would have explained the way I look because of how weird it is.
this isn't just it is what it is.
Because I don't think it could be what it is. I think there's too much questionable things to happen. And I feel I'm very similar to you, and I feel like you're very similar in this aspect of like, if we see an opportunity, we're gonna make some kind of story to go along with something.
Oh,
Even
absolutely.
if it's not something that is necessarily like really serious or that we fully flesh out in a document or anything, it's still like it's like a footnote in our mind of like anytime we refer to these characters, we know like, oh, this is probably what it's like and this is how this works and all that. And so I think that initially happened with this iteration, I guess, of me. But comparatively, I feel like this version at least is the most me-ish in terms of like if I were to ever have like profile pictures or anything related to like Kai before, that was always just like a cute homage to a character I had. But now if I do anything with this character, it's quite literally supposed to be me, so it feels much more genuine.
Yeah, I feel that.
But also with
Because,
you,
I
I feel like
mean,
that's much more complicated because of all of the differences and the
well,
characters.
the thing is with all of these is that other than Sierra, Sarah, and Sky, the other three were always meant to be individuals, like especially Ariel. Ariel was always meant to be her own character. And I just kind of was like, oh, you've been here for a while, haven't you? It just became its own thing where it's like, she kind of just wormed her own way. And I was like, huh, when did you get here? Why are you here?
Why
And they
haven't
kind of
you
just
been paying taxes?
kind of. That's kind of what it felt like. It's been like, yeah, you've been here for this long and you haven't been paying rent? Like, what the fuck? Only to realize that, yeah, actually, no, yeah, they have been here for quite a while, and they have actually been paying a rent. Thank you very much. They have the receipts. And the same with DR, where it's like he just kind of grew into a little something a bit bigger than I realized he was becoming. And then exactly with the entire, like, he latched on because when I got really into My Hero Academia and I started coming up with like fanfic ideas and all that stuff, he latched onto a specific fanfic idea and said, "That's me now, thank you very much." And I'm like, okay, all right, sure. Um, so his entire thing is specifically meant to be, the entire fanfic story was he was a alternate universe version of Deku,
Mhm.
um
Always gotta have the evil
who,
versions.
yes, that was kind of the entire idea, but it was he got stuck in basically the canon universe, and uh through kind of became realized he could be his own person, kind of a deal, where he didn't have to follow what someone else was saying. Because that's the thing with all of their stories, is that it involves some sort of self-reflection almost, and self-improvement. Like Hannah's entire was that, oh, she can find a sense of belonging, and oh, she can be loved. for just being herself. She doesn't have to pretend to be something she's not. Um, Ariel's was she can be whoever she wants to be. She doesn't have to be what other people tell her to be. And Dim's was that he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to just do what other people tell him to do. And all of those stories kind of form them into what they are. So it is a bit more complicated. And the thing is, until now, none of this was fucking written down. I'd like
I
to make this
see.
very clear. This has lived in my head for the past 20 years, basically.
I mean, it does
And has
give
been
you room.
growing
It gives you
exponentially.
room to write down more stuff as details come down.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if give it a couple more years and there's like 3 more editors or whatever. There's 3 more characters and there's a second Renaissance or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Hmm. Interesting.
Or if Sierra does eventually grow up or something like that. I would not be surprised.
Oh my gosh! And then she. Never mind. I was gonna say she inherits the sexiness factor.
Oh god, no.
You never know. That's also a renaissance people go through their hoe phase.
I don't think I'll be going through a hoe phase anytime soon. Thank you
No
very
one ever
much.
thinks they'll go through it, but
Then it just hits
as
like a
someone
train.
that's been living in his silent hoe phase for a very long time,
Has it been a silent hoe phase though?
it has for me. I don't tell other people.
I
They
think
don't know what I'm
people
listening to.
I think people see you and they're like, that's a hoe.
I doubt it. You don't know what I wear to work. I don't think people are looking at me and saying he looks like a hoe. Like they're saying he looks lost. Where is he going?
Lost child.
They're saying he looks lost. Is he the one who shit in the sink? Like what's going on?
No.
Hey, that was horrible. I found that in the bathroom one of these days. It wasn't shit. I hope it wasn't.
Oh
It
god.
was something brown. And it was in a sink because I went to wash my hands and I was like, ooh, not that one. Let's go to a different sink.
Could it have been blood?
It was brown.
Blood when it dries turns brown, man.
It wasn't that dark of a brown and it wasn't dry. It was still wet.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. I hope it wasn't. I'm hoping it was just like, I don't know, a protein shake that someone spit up or something. Or dumped out. I don't know. Just don't want to imagine it being poo. Oh. So remember how 7-Eleven guy lost his job?
yeah.
He got it back. I just thought you ought to know. Oh, and another thing. I mentioned this in the OSHA chat, but this past I want to say Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday actually. This past Thursday, my boss's boss was in the office. And she took me along with her in a car ride to go to a main campus to drop some like supplies for an event off. And when I was with her, this was during part of my sick fun time where I was setting timers for myself of like when medication wore off so I knew I could take it again. And I set a timer for Dayquil so that I would remember when it was okay to take it again. But I wasn't anticipating that this entire trip was going to take this long. And so we're waiting in the car for a student to come out and get the supplies because it was like there was like this really, really heavy box that we needed them to put it in like a cart. And my timer starts going off in my pocket. And you know what my timer sound is.
Yes, I do.
It's a lovely voice clip of Kester saying, "Oh yeah." But it
Oh yeah.
sounds
Oh yeah.
very, the way she says it is almost, I'm not gonna say it was meant to be this way, but it's semi-sexual sounding because of how she's like, "Oh yeah," like that's the way it sounds. And if people don't understand what she's saying or what the context is, they think a demon is coming out of my pocket.
Yeah, it's true. What the fuck?
I didn't do that, so I don't know why that's there. I thought you put that on the pick board.
Why does this keep happening? I just took a screenshot and I updated my Discord profile picture, and now it's there.
Okay, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that at some point in the future. Anyways, so
Why is there always two of me? Why do I always have a ghost show up?
I don't understand. There's a lot of questions. Anyway, so that went off, and initially I was like, oh god, this is horrible. This is my boss's boss, and this sounds so random. And so I quickly was like, oh, I'm sorry about this. I was just setting a timer for myself, and the timer sound is just one of my friends saying a horrible, horrible thing. And I didn't know how she was going to react, but then she started laughing, and she thought it was a very funny thing. And she's like, I should do that with one of my friends. I was like, I recommend it. I think it's a very funny thing to do. Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. I didn't show up. Hold on, who is this?
Who are you?
Are you, and where did you come from? No, really. No, seriously, I don't know where this is from. I genuinely, it's not from my folder of where you're supposed to be.
Literally, all that happened was I updated what my Discord profile picture was, and then now it's here.
Okay, where? No.
It is reactive. It's actually working properly.
Reactive, but it's not. Who are you?
Who are you?
Okay, I found her. I don't know. Okay. That's something I'm gonna have to do later. Anyways. Dear God. But also, good news, finally got my phone fixed, so I can actually drive to certain campuses without getting lost. I was trying to hide her. It's I tried to figure out where she was, because the way that I have it set up, it's not supposed to use their direct thing, but I don't know anymore, so we're just not going to talk about it. So anyways, next week,
it's fine.
We might do another planned one, and if it's a planned one, I will make it something that we can both participate in. If not, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
I'm sure.
And this Wednesday, I'm either streaming Dishonored 2 or a new game. We'll see. We'll see how long I can run away from that game until it kills me. And Sarah is probably gonna be streaming this week too.
I'll be streaming on Tuesday, Persona 5 again.
Oh god, the Persona.
And I didn't stream yesterday because I wasn't feeling too good. But I'll stream again I will stream again this next Saturday.
Ooh, and, well, actually, never mind. That'll be something to cover on the next pod episode.
Okay.
Anyways, okay.
Sure.
Everyone pretend like you didn't see the scuff, and I am gonna have to fix this at some point in this coming week, because I don't think I can do it tonight. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope it won't be as scuffed next time, and we'll see if
it will be.
It better not, because I'm not here for it. I worked very hard on all this fucking code to work again, and if it starts not working now for some godforsaken reason, I'm gonna be very pissed off. Goodbye!
Bye!